In this video, we'll talk about how real estate is sold in Dubai, that is step by step, stage by stage. So let's get started. Step number 1, you need to find a licensed agency in Dubai that handles secondary market real estate sales. This might sound a bit strange, but there are agents in Dubai who only deal with off-plan properties and aren't familiar with the secondary sale process at all. If the person knows the procedure, everything will go smoothly and according to the agreements. If they don't fully understand the process, things will keep changing, prices will shift, and unexpected costs will pop up that weren't discussed beforehand. And so your deal just won't be very pleasant for you because you'll expect one thing, but along the way, extra costs and commissions will be added that weren't mentioned initially, but somehow appeared as things progressed. So you've found a licensed agency. The next step is to provide the necessary documents to list your property for advertising. You need to provide documents to sign what's called Contract A, which is essentially your official permission for the agency to advertise your property on specialized platforms. What documents will you need to provide? First is the ownership document. Depending on your property's construction stage, this could be an okud, a pre-title deed, or a title deed. If you don't remember where you saved your ownership document, don't worry. You can go to the Dubai Rest app and find all your ownership documents in your personal account there. Remember, Dubai uses electronic document management, so you won't need to provide any physical paper documents. The next thing the agency will ask for is a photo of your passport or Emirates ID, after which you'll either need to send a statement of account or just explain the payment plan situation, meaning how much you've paid, how much is left for the developer, if the apartment is still under construction or, for example, has post-handover installments. If your apartment is currently rented out, be sure to inform your broker about that as well. You will also need to discuss the selling price for the apartment and the commission amount with the agency. In Dubai, it's usually 2% of the property's value. Once everything is discussed and documents are provided, you'll receive Contract A via email, which you can sign electronically. So your apartment, villa, or office is being advertised, and a buyer has been found. You've agreed on the price, maybe after some negotiation, reached a common ground, and are ready to proceed with the deal. In this case, the buyer and their agency draw up Contract B, which we'll discuss in future videos when we look at the same situation from the other side of the fence, right? That's how it all works from the buyer's perspective. After Contract B is drawn up, the buyer writes a 10% check in your name, then Contract A, which you signed, and Contract B, created by the buyer, are merged into one called Contract F, or an MOU. This Contract F contains all the details of your transaction, including who pays what costs, the timeline for the deal, basically every single nuance. Contract F is sent to both parties, and you confirm it just like Contract A, in electronic format via your email. Once Contract F is signed, a 10% check is handed over to the real estate agency for safekeeping. And in case, for example, the buyer changes their mind about buying your apartment, and you, for instance, don't agree with their change of plans, then by court decision, this 10% check will be transferred in your favor. If you decide to pull out of the deal and the buyer doesn't agree, then in the same way, by court decision, you'll be required to pay 10% of your property's value, as stated in Contract F, to the buyer. A mutual termination of the deal is also possible if both you and the buyer agree to do so. In that case, of course, there won't be any penalties. So Contract F is signed. From this moment on, your property is blocked, and you can neither rent it out nor sell it. On the other hand, the buyer's security check is held by the agency and also cannot be returned to them. From this point on, both parties are officially in the deal and the terms cannot be changed. And then the collection of the final documents for the transaction begins. You'll need to apply for an NOC, which is a certificate of no objection from the developer. If your property is already completed, the cost will be around 525 dirhams. If the property is under construction, the price will be higher, around 5,250 dirhams. In some cases, for certain properties, a NOC is not required to complete the transaction. But all these details are clarified along the way by the registrar who will handle the deal. So you've applied for the NOC. In most cases, this can be done online through the developer's app via your personal account. If your property is under construction, the buyer will have to visit the developer and re-sign the sales and purchase agreement. This is the same document you signed when you bought it, because the remaining installments still need to be paid to the developer, and so these debt obligations must be transferred to the new buyer, or rather to the new owner. Just before you receive the NOC pass, you'll receive a specific date and time that you can pass on to the buyer, and they'll go to the developer to sign the documents. A fairly important point is that you'll need to return the original signed SPA to the developer, your copy that you received when you bought the apartment. If your apartment is already finished, in most cases, the developer will ask for service charge payment. That's the fee for building maintenance for a quarter in advance. Contract F specifies that this difference, say you've paid for a quarter, but your deal is in a week, this overpaid difference will be reimbursed to you by the buyer. Again, all of this is laid out in the additional terms of Contract F. So you've made all the necessary payments, you've received the NOC, and at this point, if you have a golden visa from the purchase of the property you're planning to sell, you'll need to either cancel that visa or apply for a so-called 30-day grace period to transfer your golden visa from the property you're selling to another property. This is necessary to remove the encumbrance on the apartment so that it can be sold. Because otherwise, at the transaction in the trustee office, they might tell you that your golden visa hasn't been cancelled, and therefore the deal cannot be completed. So all the documents on your end are collected, and you've resolved the visa issue if you had one. And then we reach the stage where we simply meet with the buyer's side at the trustee office and the deal takes place. By the way, this meeting at the trustee office is the point where you need to be personally present for the deal. Before this, all the stages can be completed without your presence. You can come to the trustee office for the deal in person, or your authorized representative can be there. Your representative can be anyone who has an Emirates ID, except for the broker who is handling your deal. In some trustee offices, rules vary, and besides the broker, any employee of the real estate agency involved in the deal cannot be a representative either. But again, all these details depend on the specific notary office where you will be conducting the transaction. So, the deal date is set, and your agent has already submitted all the documents to the trustee office for verification. Photos of the manager's checks, which are the means of payment for the deal, were also submitted. If the trustee office gives the green light, meaning all documents are in order, then the deal date is confirmed. You arrive at the trustee office with your agent, meet with the buyer's side, and provide all the documents. On your part, it should be a passport or Emirates ID, after which you provide fingerprints or signatures, depending on the trustee office, and wait for the transfer of ownership. So during this time, you can sit in the same trustee office, have some coffee, or even go for a walk somewhere. The transfer of ownership takes anywhere from 15 minutes to several hours. It all depends on which day you are conducting the deal. For example, if it's a short day at the land department and there's a high volume of deals, you'll be waiting longer. If it's just a regular weekday and the number of deals is small, then basically it can be done within half an hour. After the transfer of ownership has occurred, the buyer receives the documents for the apartment they bought, or the villa, or whatever property it is. As for you, you're handed the manager's checks in your name, which were held by the registrar while waiting for the transfer of ownership. By the way, I'll show you what manager's checks look like right here. Next, the buyer refunds you for your service charge overpayment that you made to obtain the NOC. If your apartment is rented out, you hand over the remaining uncashed checks from the tenant to the buyer, as well as the amount you've already cashed, but again, prorated by the day. All these calculations and details are, of course, handled for you by your real estate agent, so you just have to double check it. I mean, you don't personally have to sit there and calculate everything. That's the task that the real estate agency takes upon itself. By the way, we mentioned that your authorized representative can be present. Let's talk a little bit about the power of attorney. You can get a power of attorney in Dubai online. The price will be around 1,700 dirhams, and it will take about 15 to 20 minutes. In Dubai, two entities issue powers of attorney, the Ministry of Justice and the Dubai Court, also known as the Court of Dubai. Essentially, there's no difference. The powers of attorney will just look slightly different visually. In one case, they'll be reddish, and in the other case, they'll be a golden color. So basically, if you received a red power of attorney and you saw online that it looks different, there's no need to worry. It's just from two different entities, but they have the same legal force. So friends, we left off at the point where you received the manager's checks in your name after the deal. If you have a bank account in the Emirates, then the next steps for you are, well, clear as day. Yes, you just need to go and deposit those checks, and then the money will be in your account. But now let's talk about what happens if you don't have a bank account in the Emirates. What should you do with those checks then? You have two ways to cash manager's checks. The first is to contact a licensed company called Conveyancing, which will cash these checks for you. Regarding costs, on average, Conveyancing takes 1% of the check amount for cashing, and you'll also have an expense for a power of attorney, because besides signing a contract with them, you'll need to make an official power of attorney so they can cash the checks in your name. As mentioned earlier, the cost of the power of attorney is around 1,700 dirhams. The cashing procedure through Conveyancing will take about 5 working days. After Conveyancing cashes your checks, you'll have several ways to receive the money. The first way is to pick up cash at the Conveyancing office directly in Dubai. The second way is to receive a bank transfer from the Conveyancing account to your account, where the source of funds will be listed as the sale of an apartment. And the third option, which some conveyancing firms provide, is a transfer to a USDT wallet or a swap. There is a second way you can cash the checks. For this, you'll need to be in Dubai, and you can open an account at a bank called NBD based on the sale of your apartment. There might be certain nuances depending on your citizenship, but all these details are clarified in advance directly with an NBD employee. Well, personally, for our clients, we sort of carry out this procedure in advance. That is, we contact the employee to find out if it's possible. If so, then you can go this way. If an account is open for you at NBD for an apartment sale, you cash the checks directly into your account, after which there's a standard bank condition that they stay there for 1 to 2 months. And then you can transfer the money to your accounts in other countries. Yes, friends, there's one more nuance I didn't mention, which is the security deposit for DEWA. If you have a ready apartment and you connected water and electricity, then you paid a security deposit, it's refundable. Accordingly, after selling the apartment, you can cancel your account and get the 2,000 dirham deposit back. Or you can choose not to take it and donate it to the Emirates Treasury. So it's up to you. Well, friends, thank you very much for watching. I hope this video was useful for you. Traditionally, I remind you that we are a licensed real estate agency. If you have a task to buy or sell some real estate in Dubai, write to us. We'll be happy to help you with that. In addition, if you have a task to rent out an apartment, furnish it, or do a renovation, we provide this entire range of services to our clients. Write or call us and we'll discuss all your tasks. Once again, thank you very much for watching and see you in new videos.